All right. So
Yes,
we
sir.
are back again for our weekly top five series. I'm Luke.
All right. Well, apparently that just happened. Poor Luke got kicked from the party. Let me see if I can get him back in here. Oh wow, he got kicked offline completely. I'm sure he'll be back on in just a minute, and then we'll continue with the live with the top five.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, for some reason I got disconnected from everything. So if
Yeah.
you will, just join back up.
All right. That's what I was telling people from my stream, since mine's still going.
And I'm going in.
I'm on my way.
Okay, I am live. I am live. We'll give it a minute or two here. And
Oh wow, apparently I lost connection with Destiny servers. Congratulations, Destiny. You're fantastic.
all right. But I am live. It's still showing you in here, but it's not like your ship is in here, but it's not showing you.
Oh wow, how about that?
Yeah. If it'll let me send you an invite. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead. Is it letting you log back in?
I'm waiting on the white screen of blankness.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and head over here to IO, but let's start this talk. Okay. We're doing
Alright.
DC villains this week, which is like I was trying to say earlier before we were rudely interrupted by Bungie's servers and stuff and PlayStation servers for which is a very rare occurrence when I stream. Um, so it's perfect timing due to the fact that Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and Legends are all having a crossover this week,
Mm-hmm.
and Justice League just released, and
There
people
we
were
go.
in talks about how good Aquaman was for the movie, and all this DC stuff is actually starting to come and fold, and I wish a lot of critics would lay off them. Let's see here.
Alright. See if it'll let me
Okay.
join you this time.
Um. So let's. Okay, you're in here.
Oh, and I
I'll give
just...
you a second. Okay, there we go. You're in here, so now we can go here to do our
Nope,
flashpoints.
I'm not in there
Um.
anymore.
So I'm gonna go ahead and head to the rupture then,
Alright.
and it's not letting me for some reason.
Yeah, every time I try to join
guess
you, it's kicking me from the game.
that's really, really weird. All right, so let's just go ahead and start the discussion.
Alright.
Um, so, number 5. Who do you have as your number 5?
My number 5 is Darkseid.
Okay.
In case anybody doesn't know, he is a Superman villain. He has Omega Beam eyes who can kill or even resurrect who they kill depending on Darkseid's intentions. He can teleport through space and time. He can increase his size. He has incredible strength, reaction time, telepathy abilities. He can even regenerate from pretty much nothing at all. So he's pretty indestructible. And he's just an all-around badass guy.
He really is super strong. Always gives the Justice League and Superman and all of them a run for their money, and they always have trouble with him. My number 5. See, I didn't put Darkseid on my list because if you're a DC fan, you know who Darkseid is.
True.
And yeah, I've got well-known people on here, but Darkseid's one of those ones that, he's not my favorite. He's awesome, but he's not my favorite.
Right.
So my number 5 is Lobo.
Lobo.
And yes, there's an argument where he can be a hero, he's the anti-hero type a lot of the times, but he's mostly classified as a villain. So I went ahead and put him. Reason being is, who else do you know has pretty much slaughtered their own people? He done it. He's extremely violent. The only reason I can't really classify his powers is because over the course of time that he's been wrote about, his powers change constantly.
Oh, again.
So, but he's my number 5 just because of how brutal he is.
Yeah, well, I may have would have put him on my list, but that's one person I don't really know of, other than I've heard you mention him a couple of times. But he does sound very
He's really
interesting.
good. If you haven't read anything by him or of him or anything, I would highly recommend it because he's fun to read.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's go to our number 4.
All right. My number 4 was Brainiac.
Okay.
Now, I should point out that most of my picks will be people that most already know of, just because most of my knowledge is from mainstream. But Brainiac, another Superman villain, is kind of interesting because he don't just go around killing everything, which, he kind of does, but he collects cities and shrinks them and bottles them up, which I find interesting. It's like he don't just obliterate everything. He finds one little thing he likes and he says, "Oh, I'm going to make it into a trinket." He's got a 12th level intellect, so he's extremely intelligent. He's technopathic. Of course, he has a shrink ray. He has a force field belt. He can possess others, absorb information, replicate himself. He can also traverse and control space and time. He has great strength and pretty good durability. There's not a lot that Brainiac cannot do if he has the time to think of a way to do it, which usually don't take long. Yeah.
Once again, he's another one of those like super high-powered ones that I didn't want to throw on this list because there's so many. Because to me, DC's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer DC Comics over Marvel. But Marvel movies have done better, but we'll discuss Marvel on a later day. But we also could add into your fact that, I don't know if you've played it, I spent a lot of time on it, but the DC Online.
I've played it some, but I haven't really played it a lot.
That's the main villain that you start out against.
Yeah.
So, of course he's a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. My number 4, which these villains I didn't rank on just being my favorite, but the ones that have that I feel like had a huge impact on a lot of comics, as well as my favorites. So I kind of threw in a mix of things. My number 4 is going to be Harley.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
yes, the good old Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And normally she probably wouldn't top a top 5 for most people, but
Right.
for me, she's extremely dynamic.
True.
Margot Robbie played her in Suicide Squad, which Suicide Squad was terrible. Okay?
I liked it.
I'll
go ahead and throw that out there. I enjoyed
it was a
it.
terrible movie. The first time you watch it, it's a fun watch, but she really brought Harley Quinn's character alive, and I really enjoyed it. Her bipolar disorder makes her an extremely round character.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to. It's not one of those things where it's going to be the same thing all the time. You don't know what you're getting with Harley.
True.
And the fact that she's done good, she's done bad. In one of the animated series, she hooks up with Nightwing after capturing. You don't know what you're getting with Harley. It's that surprise factor. It's that not sure what you're going to get. All that. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
And my personal opinion, when I look at characters, she's one of my favorites. So that's why she's on this list. I've even got her diamonds tattooed. So she was going to be on my list.
She's one that I really, really like, but I didn't mention. One of the 3 that I like, but I didn't mention, just because they don't really have any powers. I try to stick with ones that have some kind of power or something, just in general. But as for Suicide Squad, you make a good point. The first time you see it, you like it. I've only seen it once, so that's probably why I like it so much.
After that, I've watched it a few times, trying to pick up on Easter eggs and stuff like that, and after a while, after a couple times watching it, you realize how terrible the movie actually is. But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Alright, so number 3.
My number 3, all I can say is Green Lantern is my favorite superhero. So naturally, there's going to be a Green Lantern villain on my list. So my number 3 is Sinestro.
Okay.
Of course, he was a former Green Lantern. He trained Hal Jordan. His powers are, on par with about any Green Lantern you could pick. He has reality altering abilities from I can't remember his name, but the embodiment of fear. You can jump in anytime you think of his name.
Well, I'm not a huge Green Lantern fan. It's one of those ones that I didn't focus on a whole lot. I had, about a couple months ago, I had close to 3,000 comics in my possession, and I would say maybe 10 of them was Green Lantern.
Damn, I wish I could think of it. But that is basically where he gets a lot of his power from the Sinestro core rings and stuff. But he's, I don't know, it's like opposite of Green Lantern, kind of, or alternate Green Lantern in a way. And I just find that fascinating. Of course, there are other lanterns, both good and bad. But I think as far as villains, he would probably be my favorite from the Green Lantern series.
Alright. My number 3. And I'm going with a Flash character.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with Professor Zoom.
Alright.
Or Zoom, as most people know him. He got his first incantation on any screen during the Flash series. I know he was in an animated series and stuff, but the one that a lot of people have watched. A lot of people watch the animated series, but the Flash TV series is a huge hit. So I went with Zoom, and just because of his mark on the Flash comics and Flash story arc as a whole. Eobard Thawne, which is a time-traveling speedster, is the reason we have the Flash.
Right.
And he kills Barry's mom, and that's like the most well-known part. And then later in the future, him and Flash have a battle out, and Flash ultimately wins. But of course, in Flashpoint, that changed a little bit.
Right.
Actually, quite a bit. But as a whole, Zoom had a huge thing, and his powers are just as strong, if not stronger, than the Flash's at times. With the abilities, you know, just the same as being a speedster, he can travel through time. He's got the strength, all that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he knows the future, so he knows exactly where Barry's going to be and stuff like that. It made everything interesting, so that's why he's my number 3.
True. It's a good point.
All right, so number 2.
My number 2 was Doomsday. I find, yeah.
All right, that's my number 2 as well.
All right, the way you said it, I almost expected like you didn't think of him as a good villain or something, but yeah, I think he's fantastic. Another Superman villain. Superman has a lot of great villains, but he has the regenerative healing, you know, the resistant super strength, and he can pretty much just gain other powers as he needs them because he can never die the same way twice.
Exactly, and the mark on the comics. Okay, terrible incantation and BVS aside, let's talk about his mark on the comics for a minute. He is the only person. He was the first person. He's the first person to ever kill Superman.
Yes.
And now, granted, I had 2 or 3 issues of this comic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was still unopened, and that was only just a few months ago. And I ultimately sold it, but I had an unopened copy of this, as well as an open one, and then I had the full graphic novel.
Right.
And, I mean, just the fight alone, you want to talk about brutal. Just punch for punch, like, the craziest comic book battle up until that point. And when it comes to Superman, I'm not a huge Superman fan, but I love that story. And his mark on it is he killed Superman. They literally fought to the death until both of them just killed over. And that's why he's at the top of that list, because, you know, Brainiac and Sinestro and all these have left their mark on comics, but which one made a country cry?
There you go.
Okay, they literally made people cry when Doomsday killed Superman.
Yeah.
And I liked it because it showed that even the strongest person had a weakness. Granted, just a little while later, they brought Superman back, but that's beside the point. All right. So now that we've got our first couple honorable mentions here.
All right.
For me, I think it was pretty easy for me for this. The first honorable mention, I'm going to mention Scarecrow.
Right.
Okay. The reason I'm mentioning him is his time in the Dark Knight trilogy and some of his comic adaptations. He's literally just brutal and he's fun to watch.
True.
Like, his gas just giving everybody their nightmares. It's just fantastic. My other one is Deathstroke. I mean, you can't have a villain list without Deathstroke on it.
Well,
Okay?
I can.
Well, you can't. For me, I can't.
Yeah, well, I don't know a lot about Deathstroke. That's why he didn't make my list.
He was able to handle Batman in a hand-to-hand fight.
That's good.
Okay, as well as Nightwing. weapons, I mean, the dude could use any type of weapons. Super strength, slight healing factor at times, just all around, just great hero, or great villain. But he's also an anti-hero too at times. My other one is Ra's al Ghul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul basically has his hands in a lot of things in the DC universe. If it wasn't for Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins or League of Shadows, whichever series you're watching or reading, I mean, they had the pull, and oh my god, it just completely disappeared out of my mind. That brought people back from the dead. God, I look like a terrible nerd right now when I can't even think of the name of this pull right now, but
that's right. I forgot Parallax when I was talking about Sinestro. So,
yeah,
it happens.
I know it'll hit me as soon. It's one of those things that it's on the tip of your tongue and you just cannot think of it. Anyways, that's the reason why he has lived for ages. And yes, there's more than one person that has taken up the mantle of Ra's al Ghul, but it's still Ra's al Ghul.
Right.
Skilled fighter, gives everybody a run for their money, and he's a brilliant tactician. Okay, so those are my honorable mentions.
There's 3 favorites I have, but they didn't make my list or my mentions, which were Harley, who you mentioned earlier, Penguin, and Joker. All 3 I love, but they didn't make the list because I was going for people with powers or something. My honorable mentions would be 1, Gorilla Grodd. Flash villain. He's hyper intelligent, not quite so as say Brainiac, but he's pretty damn smart. He's got super strength, and he's well versed in technology. And he's a giant ape. That's just cool. Bizarro would be my number 2. He's basically the opposite of Superman while being Superman. The freeze vision, flame breath, vacuum breath.
Right.
The telescopic vision I find interesting. I don't know, he's just got a bunch of crazy moves. And the 3rd for my honorable mentions is Solomon Grundy. That's who I was mentioning to you the other night, who originally was a Green Lantern villain, but ended up being more predominant with Superman and Batman. Because when I was researching him, I found out he originated in the Golden Age Green Lantern comics. But he's a zombie. I mean, he can't be killed. He's got super strength and stamina, healing factor. But bottom line, he's a zombie.
Right. Alright. So, number 1, I know we do not have the same one.
If we do, that'll be very interesting, because I don't think you would recognize me picking him.
It's not going to be the same. Before we get to our number 1, I'd like to go ahead and mention Hush, too.
All right.
Batman villain, he knew, I can't remember the guy's actual name, like his identity. But the graphic novel is probably one of the best reads that anybody could read. I mean, just the story as a whole. I mean, you see Batman it's just a great read, a lot of twists. But, for me, that was probably the villain in one of my favorite graphic novels, especially for Batman. And the reason I'm mentioning Batman again is because of my number 1, the Joker.
The Joker. I love the Joker.
Okay.
It's just a great villain.
Reason why he is my number 1 villain for DC is he's not my favorite villain.
Right.
Okay. But I cannot deny that he is not the best DC villain.
Oh, he is great.
That is my opinion, and it's probably a lot of other people's opinions. But Batman is arguably one of the best heroes. And when you deal with a great hero, you have to have a great villain. And Joker is that villain.
That
I
is
mean,
true, sir.
his name is synonymous in comics with Heath Ledger's performance. Put DC Comics, it showed why Batman is, probably the most favorited superhero.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the Joker, he's the exact opposite everything Batman is.
Mhm.
He's chaos, he's humor, all of it. And Batman's none of it. And without the Joker, we would not have Batman.
True.
And I like Batman, but with as huge as the Joker is, I mean, we're talking about a guy who has killed Robin, okay, which actually sparked Red Hood. Joker was a Red Hood at one point. I mean, it's crazy, and there's been more than one incantation of the Joker. Like in one incantation, Bruce Wayne's mom becomes Joker.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so there's multiple Jokers, but it's just that villain in my head, in my mind, is the #1 DC villain.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that. I seen something when I was researching the topics that I found interesting and I never really thought of, but which you kind of touched on by saying Bruce Wayne's mother became the Joker. As far as I know, Joker is like one of the few people that nobody really knows his actual name or origin, for the most part anyways.
Right.
It's just the Joker, Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I keep it that way.
Right.
I just find it
the mystery
interesting.
behind him.
Yeah, because you don't get that with really anybody else, hardly. Because everybody's got a backstory, you know who they are or what happened.
For my viewers, though, my favorite Joker, I know everybody loves Mark Hamill and he's a great Joker and stuff like that, but my favorite Joker is still Jack Nicholson.
I have to say my second favorite would be Heath Ledger, but my favorite would be Jack Nicholson for sure. He's just a great Joker.
He was just the funnest to watch.
He was. He definitely was.
I mean, that's my favorite Batman movie anyway, so.
Hey, that's not a bad one.
You're #1, sir.
My #1, let me see if I don't butcher this. Mr. McShiespitlick.
Ah.
I love him.
It's hard to pronounce his name, but I know exactly, which I'll give it to you. That is.
I really like him. Which I can say my top 5. You can order in any way you want, and I would not be mad at all. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. But I put him at the top just because, again, another Superman villain. But he has the ability to warp the third dimension in any way he can imagine. He can basically tap into the Toon Force. And you can't really kill him, but he has an interesting way of being beaten. You have to get him to say his name or write his name backwards or meet a condition that he sets or something. And even then, he's only returned to the 5th dimension for like 90 days minimum. So you only get like 3-month reprieve at the best.
Do you happen to watch Supergirl?
No, I haven't.
The last season of Supergirl, they gave him an incantation on screen.
Oh, sweet.
And it was really funny because he was all about trying to marry Supergirl and trying to be with Supergirl, and she wasn't having it.
Oh no.
He was getting in the way of everything. It was just great, but
I just find him highly entertaining.
But the way I don't want to spoil it for you because if you like the character that much.
You can go ahead and tell me whatever. It'll still be enjoyable watching it. I don't mind spoilers for the most part.
She gets him in the ship and sets the ship to self-destruct mode. And the only way the self-destruct will stop is if he types in his name backwards.
Oh, that's great. That is great.
Oh, it was fantastic. I laughed. That was probably the best moment of Supergirl for me.
And that's why I love him. It's just so great. So great.
It was honestly great. I enjoyed it. But yeah, I do enjoy your list. I like how you were doing like the strongest, some of the stronger characters.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep out the ones that I didn't really know, so that left me with more mainstream, and of course the more mainstream are the ones that everybody knows, and some of the more powerful ones. But I think my number one, which is another reason I put him at number one, is not necessarily a lot of people know him.
Well, anybody that watches Supergirl now knows him.
Well, yeah, I would say I didn't know he was in Supergirl. But I was thinking, unless you are, into like the older Justice League stuff, or some Superman stuff from back in the day, or you're just really into that kind of thing, most people wouldn't really know him until they put him on Supergirl. So
right.
Apparently, I need to watch some stuff.
Yeah, I do enjoy the DC shows.
There's a lot I've missed out on.
I do enjoy the DC shows. Alright. So that was our lists. Like I was trying to say earlier before I was interrupted, Monk here, his YouTube channel's link is on my YouTube page if y'all are interested in seeing anything else by him. The reason we moved our top 5 show early this week is because of Thanksgiving. This Sunday we have the wild card round of the Nerd Out. The contestants of that will be announced tomorrow when voting is over. On my Facebook page there is a status for that where you can choose which person that did not make it to the next round. Whoever gets the most votes will come back for the wild card round.
Yeah.
And we'll announce those tomorrow. I think last time I looked, Jacob and Keto were in the lead.
I think that was the last
Urge
thing I
wasn't
seen.
Urge wasn't far behind Keto. I think it was 2 votes or 1 vote or something like that, keeping.
It was a pretty tight race.
Them two. I think Spencer's got a fairly comfortable lead right now. But we'll see for sure tomorrow when voting is over. And that'll be this Sunday at 8.
I know I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, you've watched every episode.
Damn straight. And I will continue to watch every episode.
Which you'll be back later on in the season as well.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, basically I'm just rambling on right now to finish this milestone. Because I'm like, this is the last thing I got to do to finish it. So
yeah, I think I'm on my last one.
You would like to think?
Other than the Nerd Out and next week's top 5.
Which will be hopefully back on Thursdays.
Yeah.
But if not, we can handle it.
Did you want to say what next week's topic was going to be?
Yeah, we can do that. Next week's topic for top 5, if you want to join in on that discussion as well, is going to be top 5 DC heroes. We've done villains this week. We're going to do heroes next, which for me that was a pretty simple one to put my list together for. Following that, we will go into Marvel, starting with the villains. Why do we do villains first? Why? Because, well, villains are fantastic.
They're underappreciated.
So,
yeah.
Stay
Spoiler
tuned for
alert.
that.
Next week, everybody knows what my number 1 is going to be. I'll go ahead and
Yeah,
tell you.
because you already gave it away. But
If you know
mine,
me,
so.
you know what it's going to be. I give it away just by telling you who my favorite one is. But that's alright. If you don't know, you have to tune in. We shot the pros and cons for GTA 5 today.
And that is on your channel, right?
Yeah, I have the video on my channel, and he has one on his channel. The links of which to your channel and Kita's are both in the description of all mine, as I'm sure ours is for yours.
They are. And y'all got another pros and cons video next week, correct?
Yes, next week. We just haven't decided exactly what the topic is, but it'll probably be something of television or movies. One of those two.
Alright.
And I'll probably be doing another Let's Play of South Park, continuing that sometime the next couple days. So,
well, my milestone is complete. Our list is complete.
Yes, sir. I just left my flashpoint.
That is going to be the end of my stream. Like I said, you can catch me again live on Sunday after the holidays and stuff like that. Come join us on Sunday for a wild card round.
Sunday.
Make sure you like and subscribe to my like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content. And to stay more connected, I've got a full team working with me on my Facebook page. I've got a couple hundred likes on there already. So join me on Facebook at True Nerdgasm.
Fantastic. I need to do that myself.
Stay up to date on everything that we do here, as well as finding some of the best memes and other content on my Facebook page. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
I keep telling people I need to get a